Привіт, мене звати Sakina Ali, дуже приємно. That is Ukrainian for saying, hello, my name is Sakina Ali, and it's nice to meet you all. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Ukraine, as Declan had mentioned. Ukraine is a country right next to Russia, right here. I was a TEFL teacher trainer. So as a TEFL teacher trainer, I worked at a recertification institute where every 5 years for teachers to be recertified, they had to go through a 30-day training. And so I did that 30-day training. So I created that training for them and gave that training, was supposedly every month, but it didn't always happen every month. So I had a lot of secondary projects as listed on this screen. So I did worked on national curriculum with the Ministry of Education in Ukraine on second grade actual national curriculum. I also love dancing. So in one of our English through film events, they learned that I was a hip hop dancer. So I ended up doing hip hop dance classes as well once a week and Bhangra dance classes. And of course, during Peace Corps, you have the opportunity to apply for different mini grants. And I was able to do a grant for a traveling resource center. I felt like it was a little selfish of me because I wanted to travel throughout the area. And this way, if I got this grant, I could travel around the area. But really, I was going out to different districts and just giving different training to teachers who were interested in learning something more or the newest methodology of teaching English. So they were always wanting me to come out to teach some of their students. So I was able to secure the funding to be able to do that. So I was in the western part of Ukraine, in Ternopil, not to be confused with Chernobyl, Ternopil. Chernobyl is around here, close to Kiev, and in Kiev, actually right here where I'm pointing to Fastiv is where my training city was. So that's where I would train for the first 3 months of joining the Peace Corps. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that training. And then I took a train all the way over to Ternopil, and there was pretty much a direct train over from Kiev to Fastiv and then to Ternopil. And that was an 8-hour overnight train. So whenever I needed to travel back to Kiev, I would take an overnight train and go back and forth. Not often. But Peace Corps has quite a few different countries around the world that you can serve in. And these are some of the ones depicted. You don't see, well, China is on here, but we're not in China any longer, but we've added a few others like Vietnam and Sri Lanka. So those are new countries that have been added. So let me tell you a little bit about what Peace Corps is. Peace Corps is a government agency that sends volunteers abroad for 27 months. And 27 months are because the first 3 months are training, and then the next 2 years are actual service. So these first 4 pictures depict my training time. So that training includes a lot of language training. So I have this picture because this is our language classroom was our LCF, our language facilitators apartment at that time. And it was covered with all of the language that we were learning. And then I kind of blew up this portion of this picture right here on the left because I was always freezing, and every picture that I have, I'm wearing like triple layers and right next to the heater. And I'll tell you a little bit more about like the application process in a little bit, but I'll remind you of this picture a little bit later. This top right picture is my group of 10 other volunteers that we were learning a little bit more of the culture aspect of Peace Corps. So that training included language, which had about 5 of us in a language class. And then the next portion was also our cultural aspect and work training, safety training, health training. And that was 2 of these language classes put together. And this was our group. And then this is one of the language teachers. And then this was our language teacher back here. And then she was our cultural trainer over here. You can see my arrow, right? Okay, great. And then this was actually, this was our Thanksgiving celebration during our language training. So we had all of our family members of this whole group, and we made turkey. They had never really had turkey. So that was pretty exciting. And of course, you're going to see bottles of vodka in the middle because Ukraine, there's a lot of vodka drinking during that time. Obviously, we're not allowed to drink too much, but we can partake in the festivities if we choose to. We stay with the host family. So this was my host family, my host mother and my host sister. And we stay with that host family for the first 3 months during that whole language training portion. And my host mother was integral to my Peace Corps experience. She would actually walk me to my class, or at least halfway, because that's where she worked about halfway through our walk. And she would teach me a lot about language. So I got to practice everything that I learned every day. She would also start pointing things out and tell me to, asking me what they were in Ukrainian. She did not know any English. So I really had to learn fast. I think that is why the language training is so successful, because we're immersed in that language and we need to speak it right away. My host mother also did a lot of cooking, which was really nice. She cooked for me every evening for dinner. And but what she would do is she'd hand me a pack of sticky notes and say, Sakina, label everything and then you can eat. So I quickly learned language just so I could eat. But yeah, I would all go around the house labeling things. This is the carpet, which is kilim. This is, this and that. I label everything around the house. And once my sticky notes were out, she'd go around checking to make sure I did it right. And then she would serve me dinner, which was great. And she even, part of the host family is to show you what kind of food is available in Ukraine or in that country that you're serving in, also how to cook it. And so I did a lot of cooking with her as well. The host sister was great too. This is a semi-action shot. I think we were told to look over while we were dancing. Ukrainians love to dance. So we were often dancing around the house or at parties. And it was a lot of fun. My host sister was also the journalist in town. So she was out there getting stories on anything that we did in Peace Corps. So that was really nice. And then this was her husband at the time as well. So it was quite a good group of people that I lived with. Then this second family over here, they actually were my second host family. So after I moved on from my training site and went to my actual site of service, I had a second host family for the first 3 months I was there as well. And that was a little different of an experience because now at that point I knew a little bit more language, so I was able to communicate a little bit more. Also, everyone in this family, including my babusia, which is my host grandmother, all worked, so I didn't really see them as often. And they worked really late into the night, so I didn't see them as often, but they were amazing people. And one story I will tell you about them is that my host brother here, he first of all, I didn't know that he was going to be living there, and that was something I had to adjust to. But they decided that they were going to throw a party, and it happened to be falling on my birthday, January 9th. So I was really excited, and I was like, can I invite a couple of people? And I got weird looks, but they said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so when the people arrived, meaning 2 other volunteers that I was serving with, they came over and they, brought a couple of gifts and some food to share. And they kind of again looked at me strangely, because they're like, why are they giving her gifts, right? And so as we are like celebrating, my host mother is making all these amazing Ukrainian dishes, and it's like a 15-course meal, and we were around the table for probably about 8 hours eating and just slowly, and then at some point she brings out the cake and we start singing happy birthday, and my 2 friends said my name as my birthday, happy birthday to Sakina, and then their whole family said his name. So we ended up having the same birthday, and we both didn't know until that moment that it was both of our birthdays. So I was like under the impression that they were celebrating my birthday, and they were under the impression that we were all celebrating their birthday. So you have some language mishaps every once in a while, but that's all part of the experience, and we all laughed about it, and it was a lot of fun learning from them as well. Let's see. So some of the cultural experiences that we really learned a lot about was about their traditional dress and their love for singing. I thought, karaoke was a big thing here, but karaoke there, well, without a microphone, is very popular in Ukraine as well. They sing all the time, more so than dancing. I got to celebrate some religious services too. This is a picture from Easter in Ukraine. It was really interesting because on the streets, people would just line up and have their baskets, and the baskets would have different items to show that you have plenty for the next year. And he would come around, the priest would just come around, walk up and down all these streets to bless your baskets of food, to show that you had plentiful for the the upcoming year. My host mother, the second host mother, worked at a chocolate factory, which also I didn't understand until later, until almost before I was leaving. I found out that she worked for a chocolate factory, because she never really brought home chocolate. So I always remember that she smelled really good, but I didn't know that she worked at a chocolate factory. So she actually gave a bunch of us classes on how to make different chocolates. So that was really exciting as well. And then this was one of my favorite foods in Ukraine, was shashlik, which is just beef skewers and kebabs. And that was pretty common for summer months, which are not that often in Ukraine, but that was something that was very common that we ate as well. So I told you a little bit about what Peace Corps is, but their mission is to promote world peace and friendship by fulfilling 3 goals. First, to help the people of interested countries in meeting their need for trained men and women. And I really want to emphasize interested countries, because we only serve in countries that have asked us to come there and to do a certain type of work. So Peace Corps provides those individuals to meet their needs. Then the second and third goals are really a bi-directional learning process. So first, we are giving as much information as we can about Americans through our eyes and our experiences to the people that we interact with in that country. And then the third one is really learning as much as we can about that culture, that community, that country, and then sharing that information when we come back to the US. So really, promoting world peace and friendship seems like a very simple goal, but it's obviously a very big and hard thing to accomplish. But we're hoping that with every volunteer, we're improving that by building that friendship and letting people know about our experiences. There are countless times that when I come back, when I talk to my family, they'll say, oh, you know what, I met a Ukrainian at blah, 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 and it was really interesting because they would say, I wouldn't have talked to them, but you told us about your experience in Ukraine. So, the first thing we say is, oh, my daughter or my sister or my cousin, worked in Ukraine for 2 years, and they start a conversation, and just that produces like a kind of commonality and help, a way to talk to people and build that friendship. So we have served in over 142 countries to date. Right now we're in about 61 countries. Before we evacuated, we had over 7,000 volunteers abroad. And I know it says 240 total volunteers to date. That should be a little bit more than that. We have served, the majority of people who serve are still female, and average age is about 27. If you see, it's 20 to 86. I had someone volunteering with me that was in their 80s, and they actually stayed to the max amount they could, and that was 8.5 years in the same country. But there are some people that like continue to volunteer throughout their lifetime. So that is something that is available at any age. So learning about it today doesn't mean you have to apply as soon as you graduate, but it's something that maybe you want to do mid-career or after you've retired, or at any point in time. I think the easiest time is often right after you graduate, because there's less attachments to things in the US at that time. We are increasing our diversity to as much as possible. When I started 3 years ago, our multicultural or diversity amount was around 12%, and we went up to 34% because we were actively trying to increase our diversity. You can serve as a couple as well. And of course, majority of our volunteers do have an undergraduate degree and do recommend being a volunteer. So if you ever see a Return Peace Corps volunteer, or RPCV as we call it out there, definitely stop them, talk to them, ask them about their service. I'm sure that they will have fond memories of what they've done. And of course, we all want to talk about our service because we had such a great time that we're willing to share as much as we can to anyone who wants to listen to us. So feel free to connect with any one of us at any time. This is the volunteer that served with me that was in his 80s. He was an architect by trade, and he continued to work with community development projects within that community. And that was his wife. He married a Ukrainian woman as well. And she was the mayor of the city that he first started at. Peace Corps has 6 areas of focus. So agriculture, youth and development, education, environment, health, or community economic development. So based on your skills, based on your desires, based on your background, you might choose one of these 6 areas. So I'm not going to read all of this, but agriculture volunteers work with biodiversity, agriculture production. They work with areas to generate agriculture related income, and help with nutrition in a sense, because they help increase dietary diversity within that region. And these are the 15 countries that we have agriculture volunteers in. Community economic development includes community-based development projects and financial and employment skill development. So a lot of people might work with women on making their businesses profitable. So you might work with people on their business plans. There's also working on possibly improving different like technology in that community as well. So this is really for those people who are business minded and have either a business degree or economics degree, or a technical like IT type degree as well. Our largest area of volunteers needed is education, and that's where I served as well. We need literacy volunteers, math and science volunteers, and also teaching English as a foreign language volunteers. So I was in that third area as a teacher trainer, as well as a teacher as well. And that again is our largest need, because most of the countries want people to be there to help with their English language skills. And then we have environment. Environment includes these 5 areas: youth environmental education, so it's a lot of youth group type of work, soil and water improvement, tree planting, nurseries, and reforestation. And we have also a coastal resource program for those people who might be marine biologists or want to be marine biologists. And we also do WASH, which is water, sanitation, and hygiene. Then our next area is health. Health is our third largest sector. So first was education, second was community economic development, and then third largest is health. And so that really works on advocacy. So HIV/AIDS advocacy, maternal, newborn, and child health care. So that is going out and giving presentations about nutrition and health within the communities. Or even safe sex practices as well. Now there's a lot of, or in the recent past, there were also people who were going out to do just hand washing, because we had a lot of people out in Africa during when Ebola broke out as well. So they talked about hand washing and masking, and now I think they're going to be pushing that again with the current times as well. And then YD is youth development. And this, I think of youth development as kind of like what the YMCA does, right? After school programs, leadership programs, mentoring youth, helping with camps, whether they're, sports related or education related type of camps. So that is what youth development it really is. It's our smallest program because it's the least asked for program. So this one is the most highly competitive area because there's such few jobs. But when you connect with me, you can talk, if you're interested in joining the Peace Corps and you connect with me, I can talk about how to make yourself more competitive. So there's a lot of benefits during service and benefits after. So during, you get a living stipend, everything is paid for. So this is basically a free trip to another country, but you do a lot of work while you're there, right? So your housing is paid for, your medical and dental coverage is taken care of. So not just emergency care, but you have your annual checkups and 6-month checkups for dentists. They do that as well. If you have any student loans that are federal student loans, those can be all deferred without any penalties or any interest being accrued. And then there's some programs where the whole student loan could be actually canceled based on their policies as well. You do get vacation time. So you get 24 days off a year. That's 48 days off for the whole 2 years, and you can use that however you want. You just have to get the approval for the dates, but you can do whatever you want. So what I did was I traveled. I went to Hungary and Greece and Turkey, the surrounding countries by Ukraine. So it's your opportunity to go do that, but also your opportunity to travel within the country as well. So I traveled a lot within the country to learn about the different people and different areas. Also, there's a lot of career skills and training that continuously happen. So not just at the beginning in your during your pre-service training, but also once you're in service, there is like a mid-service training and end of service training that includes how to make your experience in Peace Corps something that you can reflect on your resume and for future jobs as well. So they continue to have these kind of trainings throughout the time, just so that you're engaged and that you feel that you are prepared to continue the type of work that you're doing there. So for example, like if you were in agriculture, maybe there's different types of crops that you might do at one certain time of the year. So you might have to be retrained again. So they kind of have that training that continues a little bit later as well. By the way, feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and I'm happy to answer questions too. So if you want to raise your hand and ask some questions, I'm happy to answer those as we go. Should have probably said that earlier. And Declan, if I miss any of the questions in the chat box, just, you know, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. All right. So benefits after serving. So, you know, it's funny because I thought I was going to go there to help others. And really, it was during that service that I realized that I got a lot of benefit. So not only did I learn a new language and meet amazing people and really get to know a new culture, but I got these other things. I mean, I got the $10,000. Actually, when I did it, it was a little bit less, but now it's a little bit more than $10,000 and transition funds. We call them transition funds because it helps you readjust to life back in the US. I used it to buy or put a down payment on a car because I live in California, so I needed that. But you can use it however you wish. Some people use it to travel. Some people use it to pay off some of their loans or to just pay for, you know, an apartment when they get back. So there's lots, you can use it however you want. You also have a lifetime graduate school benefits. I like to talk about this because I really partake in this. I got my graduate school completely free because of the benefit. It's 25% to 100% tuition paid programs that are out there that we actually have partnerships with in different universities. So that is something that a lot of people don't take advantage of, which I would always tell people, if you need that money to help pay for graduate school, this is a big benefit. There's also a huge professional networking and networking group association, which is called the National Peace Corps Association, and everyone is a part of that. They provide a lot of career services, other training, information about jobs, and there's, like I said, there's over 240,000 return Peace Corps volunteers, and many of them are part of that association. So it's a great network to be a part of. They will help you get your foot in the door in whatever career that you really want to get started in. They also have like a mentorship program through that as well, and that is free for everyone who returns from Peace Corps. Also, there's federal employment advantages. So if any of you are interested in really learning about or being a part of the federal government, this is another foot in the door because you get non-compete eligibility, or we call it NCE. That means for the first year that you're back, if you apply to any government position, your resume is looked at before the general public. So it's like they're like kind of like military benefits, who, you know, with military, they have kind of first dibs on some jobs that are out there. So Peace Corps has that for return Peace Corps volunteers as well. And then I already talked about the loan forgiveness that might happen for you as well. And then when you come back, if you need healthcare, there's access to that as well. I would say most people end up going straight into graduate school or straight into a new job. So they don't always take in all of these benefits. And I want to say back to the graduate school benefit. So after I finished my master's, you know, I served in Peace Corps in 2004, 2005. So it's been a few years. I went straight to my master's program, but about 10 years later, I decided I want to get my doctorate in education, and my university definitely was not on that list of graduate school partners, but they honored the program because they wanted to really have more people who were return Peace Corps volunteers in their program. So they honored that program and gave me that graduate school benefit for that as well. So like I said, it's a lifetime. So if I want to go back and now do my MBA, I can find a program and apply to it and have that paid for as well. So I do like that idea of it. I kind of talked to you already about these graduate schools. So I'm going to skip over this slide. Safety and health are sometimes some people's concern. We do have medical officers available 24/7, as well as security officers. We have lots of trained staff during this whole COVID shutdown. We've had a lot of retraining, and also when we had the evacuation, many of the U.S. government agencies that were abroad have used our evacuation plan as well, to evacuate their staff. So it's very, when you get to your country, you learn a lot about how safety is like their primary concern in those countries, and making sure that the volunteer is safe. I was there during the Orange Revolution. So, speaking of safety, one of the things that they told us was to stay home. And obviously you see me out, but I had to go take a peek because I heard that it was one of the most peaceful revolutions in history. Not one person got injured during this revolution, and I just wanted to go see what it was. So I went out with one of my co-volunteers, and we just went on the street to check what it was, and it was really neat to see it because they were just chanting that we all stand together, we all stand strong, and that's all they kept saying, repeating over and over. But it was a really nice like chant, and you can see people just trying to show their concern for their country, and it was really, humbling to see that as well. So the reason I bring it after safety is they called us every hour to give us updates on, what was happening, and making sure that we were okay. And they did that for probably 4 days in a row. It actually kind of got a little annoying. I'm like, we're fine, leave us alone, let us do our job. But it was really, it was nice because they wanted to make sure that we felt safe, and they had plans for like, okay, if we needed to be evacuated, where we could go and how we would get back to like Kiev, and then be evacuated from the country if need be. We didn't have to do that, which was great. And anyways, that's part of the safety portion. There's 8 steps to actually getting out to be a Peace Corps volunteer, but I'm going to talk about the first 2, which is really looking online and browsing the current openings, and then connecting with me to talk about where you'd best fit if you wanted to do this, and then going through the application, because I'm really here to help with that application process, and also to connect you with other returned Peace Corps volunteers that you might want to hear their story and their experience. So I'm here to help with that too, and I review your resume and motivation statement as well. So what I tell people is do your research, look at those positions that are posted, look at the countries and which countries that you would be interested in going in. There are 2 ways to apply, and one is specifically to a country and to a position, or the other way is to serve where need is most. So there's 2 application processes. When I served, there was only the serve where needed most, and they looked at your resume and chose which one you would be best suited for. You didn't really have too many options. Now everything is posted, so you can check to see which one excites you the most and interests you the most, and apply to those specific to that one specific position or in general. So this is how they're posted. This is an old slide because right now they don't have any of these featured things. So I wanted to show you that if it says featured, that means they're really actively looking for people for that particular position. And you can go and filter based on what you want to do or one of those 6 sectors. And there's also language requirements. So in Peace Corps, most of the countries, you do not need to know a specific language before. I knew 0 Ukrainian. When I went, I learned how to say hello on the flight over. So you really don't need to know any language skills. The language skills that they ask for sometimes, well, in any of the Spanish speaking countries, they do want you to have some knowledge of Spanish, whether it was like 4 years of high school Spanish or two courses in college of that language. So it's not that you're fluent, but some experience in it. They also, some of the African countries prefer that you knew or learned a Romance language at some point. And that's because some of those countries speak Portuguese and French as their main language. And then you will learn like the tribal language that is there. All right, and you can also look at regions and couples. So you can serve as a couple, which means that both people would need to want to serve. So you can't go like yourself and have a dependent with you, but you can go if both of you will serve. So that's pretty exciting as well, if any of you are in a relationship. This is what one of the job descriptions look like. I tell people, look at the required skills. Required skills are usually just a bachelor's degree and you qualify, or you've had 5 years of professional work experience. That's the required part. Then there's a section of desired skills. And the more of these you have, the more competitive you become. Doesn't mean you need to have all of them. You might not have any of them, but you have a desire to, you might have just a want and desire to serve in that area. But the more that you have, the better. If you have a few years before you're going to apply or a few months, I tell people, oh, maybe you can get an internship that will help you have some experience teaching, or where you've had to use your communication and interpersonal skills, right? So maybe you can get an internship or volunteer in those areas to make yourself more competitive. And then this just shows the required language skill. Application times. This is normal. Normally, we say that you want to apply 6 to 9 months prior to when you want to go. So if you want to depart in the summer, you want to apply by this January 1st, and you would know by March 1st. Because of COVID, our timelines are slightly different or might differ. We're getting back to it now. It seems that we are hopefully sending people this coming March at earliest, I think, and throughout the end of next year. Most of our positions will leave during the October, November, December area. So if you're interested in leaving in either time period, July through December, please get your application ready and definitely talk to me soon if you're interested in that. Also, this is just a statistic that 55% more likely to become a volunteer if you connect with me, because I'm definitely going to talk to you and make sure that your application is ready and as perfect as it can be before you apply. And I will be honest, if I feel that you don't have enough experience, I'll say, okay, go do this and then apply. Or I might just say, this looks perfect. You're ready. Just go for it. Pull the trigger and apply. So I'm here to help you with that. So these are a couple of more pictures of my experience. So like I said, I was in Ternopil. I was right on the lake. This is probably, I don't know, about 2 blocks from where I lived. So this is the same lake in both pictures. So the second picture, so when I applied, there's a section of the application that you can give your preferences. And my preference said, I'm open to living anywhere in a mud hut, no running water. It could be electricity or no electricity. I'm okay with that. I just would like somewhere really that is not cold. So of course they offered me Ukraine, and I thought, okay, where is is that? Because I didn't really know. I knew it was a former Soviet Union country, but I didn't know where on the map it was. All I saw was Belarus, and thought, oh my God, this is gonna be freezing. I'm in Siberia. That's what I saw. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna freeze out there. And so I talked to the placement officer and said, are there any other options? And she said, yes, there is. There's Jamaica. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go to Jamaica. But then she said, it won't be open though for another 8 months. And I didn't really want to wait. And I'm so glad I went to Ukraine, because it's a whole culture I knew nothing about. I felt like Jamaica, I still had some knowledge about before, and Ukraine I didn't. And I learned how to ice fish. I learned how to stay warm, but I learned how to ice fish as well. That's what this person right here is doing. So you see all these people sitting out, they're fishing on the lake. That's pretty cool to see. I did slip quite often because there's a lot of black ice, but it was part of the experience to like slide down some of the hills. This is a picture from my window. So it was going right outside my window. And that was an elementary school that I also kind of would go and do courses at. But I woke up every day by their bell. So that was really nice. I had an alarm clock every day. Some of the projects I worked on outside were, I ended up, even though I was in education, I ended up having an agricultural sector, in the sense that we started a community garden, and this is the area that we started the community garden in. We did leadership camps in the summer, and then I also we worked with the community and started a community theater group, and this is the stage that we did that. And then this is my counterpart. A counterpart is a person who works with you at your site. So that's the person who might have applied to have you be a volunteer in their community or their organization. But they're usually the person who kind of introduces you to everything and helps you out on site. And then I just have a couple more pictures left. This is my family. These are my parents. They came and visited me. It's not unusual for your parents to visit, but it is unusual for your parents to stay 6 months. They loved it so much that they wanted to do what I was doing. And they knew that like it was too late to apply and to be in the same place. So they thought, okay, well, they can just stay with me. And so they did. They ended up renting an apartment very close by too. And then they stayed with me, and they ended up, my dad is an engineer. So there was an engineering university right by there. So he was doing English classes there. My mom is a chef. So she was doing cooking classes and English conversation classes. So she got to be part of my experience too. And it really ended up being a whole family of volunteers in a sense. Why do you choose Peace Corps? There's lots of different reasons, but I think for me, what encouraged me was that we get to really work with people. We get to make change at like the grassroots level. We get to figure out, with the community what their needs are, and then to start working on that and help the community fill those needs that they have. So that's pretty exciting to me. And I know I said, the skills that I learned through Peace Corps were really what were like, it's a gift that keeps on giving. Like I was able to write a book out there. I was able to work on national curriculum. These are things that I wouldn't have done so quickly in the US. I might not have even been able to do at this point because you need a lot of experience doing that. But in Peace Corps, you end up like having these experiences that really make you more highly skilled when you get back. And then here is my contact information, and I am ready to answer any questions. Also, there's this link. I put it earlier in the chat box, but I'm gonna just put it in again for you guys. This is how you can connect with me right now. Also, it's a way for you to just get more information about Peace Corps. So I send out links of all the things that I was talking about. So like where to find the openings, where to find out a little bit more about the countries, and all of that information, and how to get a hold of me if you want to apply.
Super, thank you, Sakina. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I have one that I can start it off with. You talked a bit about like you saw some of your other volunteers and you like that you invited them to your like birthday party. Are you placed around other volunteers, or does it kind of depend on the position?
That's a very good question. It really depends on the country and what type of position, and how many volunteers are going out there, right? So I was in an area, I was in a larger city, so there was about 200,000 people in the city that I was working in, and I was working at a recertification institute. So that's where teachers from all over come into this one central area to get trained. So that's why I was like in like a hub, right? So the volunteers that came and visited were living actually not in my city, but about an hour train ride away. So they came and visited me for that time, for that day. So it's sometimes you're close to people, sometimes you're not. That older gentleman, he lived literally across the hallway from me. That's how I found my apartment. So he, you know, we were in the same city, but it really just depends on quite a few different factors. I think with everything that's going on with COVID, the next couple of years, they're probably going to play it a little bit safer and have people in communities that are closer to each other, just to be able to get you to hospitals if needed, or get the care that you might need if you were, you know, for any health reasons, right? But there are times that people go into very rural areas, right, where it might take 2 days to get to the capital, right? So, and in those rural areas, you might be the only American there. And some people would love that because they don't want to like see any other Americans. They want to learn as much as they can from their community and just serve. And then some people are like, no, please send me somewhere where I have like support of another volunteer. And so during that training time, you're also talking to the people who are placing you and have decided where to place you within that country. So you want to just make sure that when you're there and they ask you those questions about like, you don't mind a rural area, or do you want to be in the city, right? So you just make sure you let them know, and they try to fit you as best as they can, because there are people who really are like, okay, I really want to be far off on my own, you know, and then there's others that are like, can you have someone at least an hour away from me, you know, so I can like meet up with them. So it really, there's a possibility that there might be 2 or 3 people in your own town. There might be no one else in your town, but there should be someone that's close enough that you can get to if you want to see them.
Super, thank you.
Yeah, and also you get the opportunity, like for educators especially, there's summer opportunities. So in the summer, you might plan camps together where they come to your town, or you go to their town, and you plan things together and can see each other that way as well.
Does anyone else have any questions? No.
It is definitely a wonderful opportunity. I know that like the first quality that you have to have is wanting to serve and help others. And if you're up for that, and I know LMU, most of the students have this idea of service and wanting to serve. So you're already there. Now it's like, do you want to travel? Do you want to learn about another culture, another language? And if that excites you, then Peace Corps is definitely something that you should consider and think about, whether it's right after college or sometime in your future.
Super. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sakina. We really appreciate it. And I think if you could send that link in the chat one more time, because I think someone new showed up. And yeah, so for people who have other friends who are interested in it, this meeting will be put on the Global Policy Institute website, so we can you can rewatch it, get some of the information again, and then you can always reach out to me or Sakina. I'm actually the campus ambassador for LMU here, so if you have any questions on the student side, you can reach out to me as well. So
Also,
yeah,
I'd
do you
like
have
to,
any?
yeah, I'd love to
Yeah.
plug in something else too. So if you're really interested in joining the Peace Corps, there's going to be an application workshop December, I think it's 13th, but it is on our website. And if you want to sign up for that to learn a little bit more how to make your application complete for Peace Corps, feel free to come to that as well. It's online and virtual, so that's exciting. Also, there's other events that happen throughout the year. So if you want to hear, we have panel events where they might have people talking about their diversity in that country, or they might have panel events about specific job areas, so sectors, whether it's like agriculture or education or health. We might have some of those events too. So feel free to join those and hear about other people's experiences. You learned about a little bit about mine, but every single person has a different experience. So it's a way to kind of find out what they're actually doing hands-on in the and what kind of work they're actually doing every day. I know today I kind of give you a lot of information, a little bit about me and a little bit about like the work out there, but feel free to join those events and learn more.
Super. Well, yeah, I think then we are set. Thank you everyone for coming.